Hey, Kevin, how's it going?
Doing great.
I'm so happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, why are you in real estate is a one question. And then, can you tell me a little bit about your favorite transactions that you've been through?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in San Diego, so I really have a love for all the different submarkets and communities in
Yeah.
San Diego. I grew up near Patrick Henry High School in San Carlos, so we moved to Scripps Ranch, went to Scripps Ranch High School. I've been in San Diego pretty much my whole life, had few years in Los Angeles for college and
Okay.
went off to Las Vegas and Chicago just briefly, but have been here for quite some time. Purchased my first townhome in Kearny Mesa in 2003 with a friend of mine, and it was really cool. We actually, back then, we had an option arm, which some people are probably familiar with. And that investment worked out well, where we were able to rent out two of the other rooms to our friends,
Yeah.
and just the feeling of freedom of owning your house and being able to kind of control your environment in that way, really showed me that real estate is a fantastic asset. And it's a big investment for people, a big kind of milestone in their life. So working with first-time home buyers is really a rewarding process to help them through that to where they can get on the right path financially, as well as establish themselves in the community. And I just love to go look at houses. I think it's fantastic. Where people sometimes maybe a buyer's motivation isn't like 100% there. I'm like, hey, let's go look at some houses.
Yeah.
Let's get out there and go do it. Love being outside. And my first job was off of Miramar Road at a car wash where I was getting paid $4.25 washing cars. My second job, I worked for Cutco Cutlery Vector Marketing, where with that job, we were able to set our own schedule and kind of work on commission, work with who you wanted to work with. And I just really loved the freedom of being able to do that. So real estate offers that same freedom where I've done mortgage, I've done property management, I've done tenant sourcing, working with buyers and sellers. So I love the variety of all of it. And some of my favorite transactions would be some of the maybe the smallest ones as well as some of the biggest ones where like La Mesa, like helping somebody purchase a one bedroom for $120,000 in La Mesa in 2011, or a one bedroom in Pacific Beach for
Yeah.
$152,000 back up about 10 years ago. And so to then see that asset go up to like $400,000 for them is
Yeah.
pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's amazing. And then they could use it as a rental and kind of outsource that debt to a tenant and just control that asset and then buy a bigger primary as things change for them. But I would say my favorite transaction ever was in Beverly Hills, where I was able to partner with one of my childhood friends who worked for Hilton and Highland up there in the flats of Beverly Hills.
Right.
And this property, we ended up getting $5.15 million for a 1920s Beverly Hills home. And we went out there. We had to clean out a lot of the old things, like all these antiques. There's skis from like the 1950s.
Oh, that's incredible.
And an interesting part of that transaction was there was actually a squatter in the home.
Really?
So
Okay.
real estate, a lot of real estate is problem solving, figuring out win-win solutions for people. And that buyer ultimately had to pay the squatter to leave the property. But it worked out for them, where they're able to now have this asset, which it was $5 million for the land value. The home was essentially a
Wow.
tear down.
Yeah.
And then somebody could potentially build that up to like a $9 or $10 million home there in Beverly Hills. But just the challenge of that, of like having to get dumpsters to get all of the stuff out of the property that had just been accumulating through these people's lives for so long, and then just to have the seller be able to realize that profit, where it was an estate sale, and we were able to have the buyer go non-refundable on $1 million within like 7 days of the transaction. So they were locked into the transaction, and we were able to just kind of navigate some of those challenges and get it done. But honestly, all of them, all the transactions are memorable, and it's just like an honor to be part of this big part of somebody's life. And so many of them, it's turned out to just be an incredible investment for them, and you
Right.
can see their families grow, and then
Yeah.
sometimes they need to do a move up, and it's just a really rewarding profession, and it's just perfect for my personality. And I'm quite a competitive person, having played soccer a lot growing up and running track at UCLA. So there is some competition, of course, involved in real estate. Not so much between the other realtors, but you have a client level relationship with who you're representing, and you're trying to advocate for them to, on the buyer side, get the most house for the least amount of money, and on the seller side to just get the full market response and get the full market value for the property. So I think each transaction has its own unique benefits and enjoyment that comes out of it, and it's never exactly the same. So there's a lot of variety.
Definitely. So Kevin does not shy away from a challenge that is just obvious in this conversation, and you really like to watch your clients thrive and succeed and grow. So I think that's really wonderful.
100%. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. That was Kevin Bose.